Welcome back, everyone, to the Niners podcast. I'm your host, Tim Cunningham, and this is a podcast where we interview folks who are living on the edge of a decade, the edge of a century, folks who are about to bring a new life onto this planet, people with a 9 on their age. Last episode, we heard from Tony. Today, we're going to hear from Aubby. She's 49. She's a nurse. She's a mom. She's got some really powerful things to share. And just to let you know, I record these throughout the year, and I drop them over certain times. This was a recording I did months and months ago, and I find it really interesting that what Aubby shares in her lived experience then is a very common lived experience for many folks now. I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did.
I think the big thing, and it does a little bit repeat how I felt around 40, but I feel it even more now, is as I'm aging, I'm realizing that the things that I prioritized or cared about before are completely different for me. Completely different. I think also becoming a parent and having a human to raise changes that as well. But you know, that stuff that you have when you're younger about just caring about certain things, the certain romantic relationship stuff that's like all encompassing and taking over your life. And as I've aged, I've started to have a much more simple way of looking at my life. I want to say that I've simplified my priorities for my future in a way where things just seem less complicated. Now, maybe there's a part of me too that has less angst, right? Because we're just so much more full of angst when we're younger. And I don't even recall what that feels like, but I know I had a lot of it. I don't want to have any more of it. You know, when people say, would you go back? And I'm like, no, the only way I would go back in time is if I get to know what I know now. I don't want to do it again with that ignorance. I want to be an example of a happy, fulfilled person for my kid. I think a long time ago, there was that book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Yeah.
And I read something, a little quote on one of the pages where she said, or someone said, if you're not going to be a good parent by sacrificing everything for your child. You're going to be a better parent by showing your child what it means to be fulfilled and happy. That is actually better for your child than for you to be miserably sacrificing for the child.
I'm Tim Cunningham, the host of a podcast that we are currently calling The Niners, and I am interviewing people from around the world who are living on the edge of the current decade that they are living in, curiously wanting to learn about their experiences, their thoughts, their hopes, their dreams, whatever they want to share. And right now, I have the privilege of interviewing Aubby. It's such a treat to see you, and let's jump in. And Aubby, today, how old are you?
49 years old today.
Where are you from, and where do you live now?
So I'm originally from Southern California. I grew up in Long Beach, and then I was in California for a good part of my life, but I've now been in Virginia for 20 years, for the most part, Virginia for 20 years, and then in Charlottesville for the last 11 years. So I live in Charlottesville. I'm from Long Beach.
Aubby, how do you spend your time?
I'm a acute care nurse practitioner. So for work, I spend my time with head and neck surgery, cancer patients, work with 4 really talented attendings, and I manage the care of patients that are basically either pre-surgery, post-surgery, initial visits. Sometimes they don't even have surgery. And that's what I do for my 5 days a week. And then I'm also a mother. So I have an 11-year-old, and he is the most important part of my life. Let's see. So we do our soccer. I'm the oldest soccer mom on Saturdays, soccer Saturdays. All my friends, their kids are graduating college, and I'm sitting out there on that field. And
Are you the oldest soccer mom in all of Virginia?
I wonder.
Carry that record?
Oh man, I don't know if I am. I feel like no, that can't be. I'm sure because I had him at 38, but I'm up there. I'm
You're
at
up
least
there.
past the mid. And then let's see here. Am I a soccer mom? I don't know if I'm a soccer mom.
Your choice.
I go to the soccer games. That's
All
right.
right.
And I support my child.
Do you drive a minivan?
No.
Okay. I don't think you're a soccer mom.
But I drive a RAV4.
That's pushing it. Okay, let's go back to your dog. You have a dog.
Okay. I have a dog. I just got a puppy. It's like having a new child. He is a beagle hound mix, and he's absolutely insane, but very cuddly. I think that they get away with that because they're so sweet and cuddly. So just like babies,
Lovely.
right?
Yeah,
And then you're like, okay, I guess I'll keep you because you're sweet and cuddly, but you're doing a lot of pooping and peeing in my house.
because they love you. They want to
That
poop and pee where their heart is, where
is
they
that
feel the
that's what it
love.
is?
I think so.
Yeah. I'll try to think
Yeah.
of it that way when I'm cleaning it up.
Yeah. Well, as a nurse, I mean, and as a fellow
No
nurse,
stranger to
we are
poop.
masterful at cleaning up poop,
Yeah.
pee, wherever,
Vomit.
however.
Don't forget vomit
Vomit.
and
Oh, we
blood.
got it. Vomit, mucus,
Yeah.
the suctioning.
The suctioning.
The suctioning.
Isn't it funny? I'm more grossed out by the suctioning than like the all the other stuff. It's like, ooh, ooh.
I, every nurse that I've met has one thing, it
Yeah.
seems, that they just can't do. For me, it was urine. The smell
Was
of
it?
urine. Yeah. And I'll suction,
But
I'll
you're
like,
like, see, just poop all day, huh?
bring it on. Bring it on. I love it. I would, when I worked clinically, I would wake up for that. I wanted to be
You went, yeah.
drowning in shit, but don't
That's
pee.
right. But you know what? Jokes aside, that sort of work is the guts of it all. And when you do it, and I don't remember, did you work med surge,
I was
ICU ever?
emergency. Yeah,
You were
just
OER. You
emergency.
no. See, if I had
Oh,
known
no.
that, I might not even be doing this interview. No, just kidding.
Oh, no. I'm so
But
sorry.
you know how the med surge and ER nurses are with those reports that you guys give us.
Yeah. And I apologize. I apologize for all the reports you've ever received from an ER. On behalf of all ER nurses, we really aren't trying to be that challenging
Right. And
most
you
of the
really
time.
you really do know the patient that you're passing off to me too, right?
Oh, we really do. Back and forth, inside and out, 100%. And we really tried to untangle those lines. We did.
Do you try to reapply the ostomy bag?
Every time, every time. It was too humid. It was too humid in the ER. We had sent all our supplies up to your floor to help you plan and get ready. We tried. Sorry.
But you know what though? Like I said, all jokes aside, it really is fulfilling work. And I think people are like, okay, but like, when you do it and then, people are like oftentimes apologizing. I'm so sorry this is happening. And, to me, it just like, man, I'm trying not to be super cheesy about it, but and I've said this to my patients before. I mean, I'm to be first of all, to be honest, I don't clean up poop anymore. I'm in a clinic, but I did for a good bit of time,
You
and
paid your dues.
it did feel like when I went home, if I was stressed or tired or honestly body hurting or whatever, like I always felt like that needed to be done. And that to
Mm,
me is the work, right? Like, I wasn't selling Rolexes, or like I was doing something that like really impacted and helped somebody. And honestly, cleaning up poop off of somebody does really impact them and help them. So I
yeah.
love that work. I also was a hospice RN before I graduated for like a
Okay.
year and a half. Definitely like awesome, fulfilling work. Didn't do it as a provider though, because hey, tangential, am I? Yeah.
Right.
Didn't didn't do it as a provider because I prefer it. I prefer the work as a nurse. I began chasing around. I got my kid who plays soccer, but mostly I try to keep him off of the video games. He's super, super stoked for this new Nintendo 2 Switch. I know, I hear about it every day. And, I work.
You have a full life. I want to ask a couple questions about you being 49. I think it's also interesting that you said you had your son when you were 38. So at that point in your life, you were almost a niner of another decade on the edge of what I can imagine is a whole lot of unknown and all the things that come with having a child. So maybe we'll get to some of that as well. But to begin, I'm curious, as you think about being 49 right now, what hobby excites you most about moving into the next decade of your life?
Yeah. So, I think the big thing, and it does a little bit repeat how I felt around 40, but I feel it even more now, is as I'm aging, I'm realizing that the things that I prioritized or cared about before are completely different for me. Completely different. I think also becoming a parent and having a human to raise changes that as well. But that stuff that you have when you're younger about just caring about certain things, the certain like romantic relationship stuff that's like all encompassing and taking over your life. And as I've aged, I've started to have a much more simple way of looking at my life. And Lord knows I've probably taken a million development classes, but I can't remember you remember when you did child development or life development and they talked about different stages of your life, and one of them was I might have gotten to it early. I don't know. It might have been later, like trying to figure out like what is my life? What kind of purpose have I had? But I start to think about that. Like, am I going to be good with my contribution for my short time here? Right? Was not thinking about that in my 20s at all. Maybe
Okay.
you're thinking it in your 20s, and maybe some
Not
people
really.
are. I don't know,
Okay.
but that was not a thing. I want to be some. It's different to want to be somebody than to actually want to help people. And
Right.
I'm not trying to pretend that my sole purpose is to be like a saint and just help, but there's a part of you that just wants to know that you have made a positive impact. And for a long time, that just wasn't my priority. So now that is a priority. I think as I've aged too, I'm going in now to 50. I look at that as it's so much easier, I think, to actually work on and accomplish than to worry about like, am I going to be super skinny? No, that's never going to happen. Yeah, like just spoiler alert.
Audience, Aubby will never be super skinny. We're just
Has
putting it
never
out
been super
there.
skinny and will never be super
Hooray
skinny.
for that. Hooray for you being you.
But yeah, I'm just using that as a thing, like,
Yeah.
like any sort of like the superficial stuff, the owning certain things. For me, it's really exciting because, and I do think that there's this part of you too when you're younger where we're learning. We just not too long ago found out that the brain is formed at 25, which made a
Yeah.
lot of sense to me. Okay, like completely formed. I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense because I made some choices that I'm not sure were the best when I was under 25.
That makes
But
sense.
frankly, I feel like I made those choices all into my 30s. So yeah, so for me going into 50, in a way, there is a sort of relief and an ease and a just, I want to say that I've simplified my priorities for my future in a way where things just seem less complicated. Now, maybe there's a part of me too that has like less angst, right? Because like
Okay.
we're just so much more full of angst when we're younger. And I don't even recall what that feels like, but I know I had a lot of it. Like, I don't
Wow.
want to have any more of it. When
Yeah.
people say, "Would you go back?" And I'm like, "No, the only way I would go back in time is if I get to know what I know now. I don't want to do it again with that ignorance."
Let's imagine you could go back. And if you
Okay.
went back to your 39-year-old self a decade
Okay.
ago, what three sentences would you tell that 39-year-old self with
Three
what you know now?
sentences,
Okay, you can
Tim,
go more. You can go more.
or I don't even know. Okay.
Use some
So
semicolons. Stretch it out.
So the 39-year-old, so 10 years ago, what would I tell myself? So there thing that I would tell myself is, and this is another thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm just like being very cliche or cheesy, but because it's like I think this is more of a Buddhist thought, but I do believe that it's important to remember that everything is temporary, the good and the bad. Uh so the important thing, because I often get caught up in I can't live like this. But the truth is we
Mm.
don't really live the same way. It's rare to just be everything to be exactly the same forever. And so sometimes when I think things are really, really painful, we are in a place of like, oh God, I can't deal with this. But it's like the truth is that's not your new normal. And so everything is temporary. Now I know everything's gonna be okay. So I would want to say, don't worry, it's all gonna be all right. Uh,
But now you know.
because 10 years ago was a huge change for me. So I moved to Virginia to live on a commune in 2004, sorry.
Okay.
And then it's called Twin Oaks. I don't know if you've ever heard of Twin
I've
Oaks, but
heard
it's,
of it. I don't think
yeah.
I've been there, but
So it's a large secular income sharing place.
okay.
Learned a ton. I mean, I'm not going to go into it because it's a very complicated relationship I have with the place because it's 10 years. I was like one of the only people of color there.
Mm.
Long ongoing thing. And then having a child 11 years ago changed my whole focus. So that's when I want to be a model for this child. I also want to provide for this child. I also want to be able to be I want to be an example of a happy fulfilled person for my kid. I think a long time ago was that book The Artist's Way by Julia
Yeah.
Cameron,
Yeah.
and I read something, a little quote on one of the pages where she said, You're not going to be a good parent by sacrificing everything for your child. You're going to be a better parent by showing your child what it means to be fulfilled and happy. Is that is actually better for your child than for you to be miserably sacrificing for the child.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It's like I just wanted to make sure that what I was doing, that he saw me doing these things and saw that I was happy and fulfilled. And I think that's the case with him. Like I became an RN. He was very so that was 7 years ago. So when he
Uh-huh.
was what, 4? No, it's not.
Aubby, you talked about this feeling of what I hear, almost feeling more grounded as you move into your fifth decade and all of these elements and different from where you were. Are there any things that worry you about the next decade? Anything
Well,
that keeps you up at night?
there's a big glaring thing that worries me, and
Okay.
that is this country's leadership right
Okay.
now is pretty frightening every day. And, we're all impacted by the poor leadership of this country. In particular, that, a healthcare professional, I'm very
Mm,
concerned about RFK Jr.'s decisions, but then I'm also concerned about what's happening with immigration. I mean, every day is
yeah.
a new horror for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can't really ask that question without expecting me to get it political. I mean,
Absolutely. And don't apologize for responding to the
yeah.
question.
So that's the thing. It's like this conundrum of,
Yeah.
first of all, I ask myself every day before I come to work, like, should I really find out what's happening today? Because I don't want to be in some sort of like spiral. But then at the same
Mm,
time, I deal with different people. This is going to come up, right? So I have to have this awareness, but then I have to also protect my psyche. And sometimes I just have this feeling like I have a lot of like-minded people around me, but then I also
hmm.
have people that aren't.
You
Right
live in the
now,
South.
I live in Virginia. Yeah, and imagine being a girl living in Virginia, but from Southern California. And then, like, the first time I went to college was in San Francisco.
Huh?
There's a big difference between, it's funny. You do ask yourself, like, am I doing what I can do right now?
Yeah.
And what does it mean to do more? And and would I be doing? I often think like if I didn't have a son, I might be even really involved in activism in a way. But I have this fear as a single parent that I cannot get too involved because also we see the vindictiveness, the
Hmm.
retaliation, the crazy response from the leadership that we have. I can't put myself in a place of danger because that impacts another human.
You talked about this too shall pass. That's what I heard. That like nothing is like everything's
Yeah,
temporary,
that's
nothing's
sentiment.
permanent.
Yeah.
So as you think about your concerns over the next 10 years, are there things that you can do to kind of manage those? How
Yeah,
does that
that's a
sentiment
really
sit
good
with you?
question. I
Yeah.
feel like this is therapy, Tim. I love it.
Stop it. I'm not a
But doesn't
licensed
it?
therapist. Let all listeners know I'm not a licensed
Yeah.
therapist, but if you want to,
But if you were, you'd be very good at it because
why
that's
thank
actually a
you.
really good question. And I think that it's true. I can. So there's a couple of ways we can look at what's going on with current leadership. We can say, okay, we are now doomed. We are fucked.
Mm.
We are all fucked. And
Fuck
that's
beyond
just the way it is.
fuckedness.
What we have seen and history kind of will teach us is that we could actually get something even better out of this. But unfortunately, we have to weather the storm. So
Okay.
certain things I think about is I'm that left-leaning girl that loves like an AOC and a Bernie Sanders. That's how, I'm that left,
All
which I
right.
actually don't think it's that crazy. I know
I
people
agree.
think it's crazy, but it's like basic needs sort of like
We could go
whatever.
a lot lefter, a lot
Yes,
lefter.
yeah, that's my compromise, people. So because I feel that way, and then when I hear people talk about like a Bernie Sanders or an AOC, and the way, and then when I say people, I mean people that are on the right, I kind of characterize them as like, insane, the words communist, whatever, all those things that
Right.
they like to say about them. Apparently fascism is cool. I did not expect
Right?
that
And
on
that's
my
all of a
bingo
sudden
card for this
accessible,
lifetime.
right?
Yeah. So that's new. So I feel like there is an opportunity for us to just sort of go, wait, no, this is not only is what we're dealing with wrong, but what we're seeing from the left leadership is not good enough. It's just not. We
Mm,
need something more. I think that we do need something more like a Bernie or an AOC. And I think people are like, oh, no, we can't do that. So this is one of the mistakes we've been making for so long is this whole like, we're going to meet them at the middle of the aisle. We're going to meet them at the middle of the aisle. When do they ever meet anybody at the
uh,
middle of the aisle? I
yeah,
said to my mom the other day, I said, you know what we need? We need a Democrat Mitch McConnell. We need a left leaning Mitch McConnell. Like,
all right.
I don't even care if he looks like Mitch McConnell, too, right? He could be like a little left leaning turtle, but like that guy is like no whole like he would just push it through. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, his agenda is scary and inhumane in a lot of ways. And so but that's the thing, like for some reason, caring about other people means that we're always trying to be like, let's make sure everybody's happy. But I think we need to realize that's not serving us.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm turning this into like this like political rant,
Well,
but
you've got me churning too, thinking about it. I was just
uh,
at a conference. I keynoted a nursing conference last week,
okay.
and I was the closing keynote. The opening keynote of the day is a professor named Olga Yakusheva. She's an economist and studies nursing economics, has some brilliant things to say. One thing a point she drove home that blew my mind. She said we have roughly 4 or 5 million nurses in the U.S. I looked it up. It's about 4 point. Currently, there are only about 3.8 million members of the NRA. Now, I know that there are a lot of nurses, and a lot of my nurse friends are Republican, are leaning to the right. We're still friends. I know many of them have guns. I know of some very left leaning folks that are nurses that have guns that are NRA members. I would argue, though, that no nurse thinks a school shooting is okay. One specific point. And as Olga argued, she said now is the time for nurses to align on a few key points that we can agree on. 4.7 million votes in any one direction will win elections, will move minds. So to your point about saying what the Republicans have been doing for a long time, I agree with you. They're very efficient in focusing, even in the midst of what looks like chaos, they still get shit done because they focus in on a few key points. I disagree with many of their points of view as well, but can we do that as nurses?
Right, right.
4.7 million strong. We're pushing 5 million, and we've got more nurses coming through nursing school. So let's get back to that.
That though, it's such a good point because you look at the AARP and their
Yeah.
power because they are
Yes.
one of the largest and then voting body, right? Like they also
Yeah.
all of their people vote, sometimes against their interests.
With the party. That's a quote that I heard in this last election that I have a hard time hearing. You had to vote with the party.
I know.
Aubby, what would you tell a fellow Niner, someone who has a nine in their age, someone who is on the edge of a decade, moving into a new decade? You pick the decade and you pick the advice. What would you share?
Now, no, okay, I'll tell it to them, but who follows that? But all right, dude.
Exactly, exactly. But don't give up. Don't give up before you've started. Don't give up before you've started.
There it is. No.
There it is.
Uh, So let's see, let's pick a decade. Well, I'm certainly not going to pick an older decade. I would, that would be weird. Okay, so I will, you know what? Honestly, I actually gave this advice to a RN coordinator that works with us.
Okay.
And she is about that age. I think she's almost 30 or around there. And I
Okay.
29. 29 is a good age to say this. Life starts going so quickly in your 30s and then it just like starts getting faster and faster, and I know they have a lot of theories about why this happens, but do it now. Break up with the bad one now. Like, you are 29, break up with the person that is not feeding your soul. Go on, like, I hiked the Appalachian Trail when I was 35, and
Wow.
I hiked it from Georgia to Maine, and I'm so glad I did that because I can't wait for my son to be 18 and retired to go off and do that. I did that, and it's like I do feel like happy that I did a lot of things younger because I don't have this I can't wait for my kid to be gone. I don't have that feeling. I can't wait to be retired. I mean, yeah, well, let's not get out of control. Everybody, I'd love to be working in a garden all day in my backyard. So yeah,
Yeah.
being retired would be awesome. But I don't have this feeling of like there's this thing that I haven't done because I really feel like there were some things that I wanted to do and I just was like, let's get it done. And one of them was through hiking the Appalachian Trail. I think when you're younger too, you definitely don't have a firm grasp on what mortality means, right? Like, and then, I mean, maybe if you're a nurse, but really it's one of those things that you start to grasp as your body might start needing certain medications.
Mm-hmm.
Everything hurts a little more when you get
Yep.
older. So the thing is, do all that shit right now. Whatever you're thinking about, if your biggest thing is you have always wanted to go to Italy and eat pasta, then go do your eat, pray, love, eat pasta thing, go to Africa on your safari. And you're saying to me, I don't have African safari money. But like, if it really is your priority, right? Like, if that's the thing, then you can make it happen. I really truly
Yeah.
believe that. I'm not trying to be like a bootstraps thing, but I think there's a lot of things that we push away for the future, thinking that we're going to be we have this future, right? That we're gonna our body's going to be healthy or all of those things. So that's 29ers for sure.
Well, Aubby, I give you my word. Once we post this podcast and get it out, if I get any feedback where someone writes me and says, Tim, I'm listening to Aubby,
You
I'm going to
better
forward that
tell me.
message directly to you. I will give you all the information I'm allowed to share because I do think people are listening and people need to listen. And I
Yeah,
would bet, especially as a nurse, if you think about all the patient interactions you've ever had in your career, I don't think you can count the amount of people that have listened to you. And you'll never know that. And that's kind of
right.
beautiful too. But you're making the world, this is cliche too, let's stay in the cheese. You're making the world a better place by
Stand
how
the
you show
cheese.
up for the world. And I am grateful for you for that.
Well, I thank you, and I'm grateful for you for that. And I like that. You might remember on the floors we always have that Maya Angelou quote about like people really remember more how you made them feel.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't
they won't
remember the
remember
word.
what you say, they won't
Really.
remember what you do. They'll forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Really, like, I remember just regularly seeing that quote on different units and stuff, and it's like, it really is true. It's so true, and I think that's another one that we need to just, like, think about as we interact with each other. I'm on an aside, I feel really sad about our culture in America
Mm.
in the sense of not having accountability for each other, not feeling connected to each other, and I think well, by the way, Tim, how old are you?
I am 47.
Oh, you're almost
So
here.
I'm getting
Yep.
close to where you're
Yeah.
at. I'm getting
So you're a
close.
Gen Xer. You're
I'm a
you're
Gen X.
also
Yeah.
Gen Xer, yeah.
Yeah.
When we were children in the 80s, little like kids in the 80s and then the early 90s and stuff, but like that whole time, I think, going a little bit back to politics, Reaganomics, all of that sort of affected people. They started being like, this is my house, this is my yard.
Mm.
And I grew up in Southern California and went to a Catholic school, had a lot of Mexican people in my life, and they did
Uh-huh.
not have that same thing. They were like, the
Mm.
door was open. I can walk in and go into the refrigerator. There was no like, these people, mi casa es su casa is very much true. When I was I had my son and he was like about not even 1 years old, I went to visit my mom in California from Virginia, and I
Uh-huh.
got on a bus, and you know how everybody in Southern California rides on buses? No, they don't. And I had a stroller, and I was just like baby and moving, and these Mexican ladies out of nowhere, and they were not even with each other. There were two of them, got off the bus at the same time with me, grabbed the stroller, set the stroller up. I mean, they did it all. They didn't say anything. They just did it,
Yeah.
and then they walked away and did their thing. That's the kind of culture that I want and wish for, and that culture does exist here, right? That's
Yeah.
here in the US. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we gotta teach these kids that it's not just about their family and whatever, that it's about the whole block, the whole world.
Yeah. I
And I,
agree.
I just, I hope we can get there.
I had a conversation with a friend yesterday who's 78, and I hope that this project is still going on when he turns 79 because I want to
Nice,
interview him as well.
perfect.
And we were talking politics as we frequently do. What he brought up was looking back in the 90s. And he talked about in the US, that was when there was a broader, granted, we were still deeply segregated. We're still deeply
Hmm.
segregated, but
Hmm.
this post World War II collectivism, collective thinking, people not using as much, not spending as much, support the war effort, this idea of people working together. And he argued that that was when the middle class was the strongest and there was a sense of we're all in this together. And his conversation yesterday was that he's just watched that degrade. And I agree with you. We do have those cultures within the US, and they're mostly folks that were not born in the US. And sadly,
Hmm.
they're mostly folks who are being targeted by a tyrannical,
That, yes.
fascist leadership team for their own reasons. It has nothing to do with problems with immigration. I think you and I would
No.
agree if we didn't have immigration in this country, we wouldn't be here today
Right.
on so many levels. But it's curious and it gives me hope to know that we've been there before, which means we
Hmm.
have the opportunity to do it again. This is not a new thing. but we got work to do.
We
Aubby,
do.
so let's wrap. But before we wrap, I want to ask, is there anything else that you want to share?
Let's see here. I'm just glad that we sort of talked about the positive side of whatever's happening. Let's shoot for instead of ultimate doom. I did really though. The other day I took my kid to see that movie Lilo and Stitch. At one point, one of the little aliens guys that studies Earth before they, come down, he's like, "Yes, they're very interesting. They tend to ruin their planet and die off, and then have to start all over again." And I'm
Mm,
thinking about it because I'm like, yeah, right. We're here for a blink, right? It's but a blink, right? And so just keeping that in mind that, I don't know why we grow up thinking that we have forever, but we don't. So let's do all that stuff now. And then hopefully, I really hope, especially the young people, get galvanized to fight what's happening right now too. And I want to support them the best that I can. And I'm also the last thing I will say is I'm also really happy for allies. I don't think
okay.
we give allies enough credit, but they're popping up more and more all the time. And I remember sometimes I would hear microaggressions, I'd hear weird stuff, and I wouldn't hear allies. But
Mm,
now I see the more privileged person, the white person saying, "Wait, excuse me, no, 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 that's not what we're going to do here." And allies are so important, especially with this administration, but in general, and for all things, for everybody, we need to just jump in and be allies. And that could end up being a huge thing if you see injustice and you don't let that person take that burden on themselves.
what I hear you saying too is do it now. To
Yeah,
be from an ally perspective too,
yeah.
don't
I
sit on it and be
haven't
like, let me talk to that person later on when I can let it settle. No, say it now.
say
Stop it
it,
now.
say it
Step up,
now.
step
And
in.
it can be as simple as I've been in the grocery store before, and I don't know why people do it, but some people decide to just go off on people that work in the grocery store, or go off on a salesperson. And it's as simple as stepping in and saying, "Hey there,
Yeah.
this is
Absolutely.
clearly an understaffed store.
Yeah.
Let's not take out whatever's happening on this person." And it's those little moments that do make a
Yeah.
big difference too. Yeah.
I think that's one of the great things that we learn in nursing school. I wasn't taught that directly in nursing school on how to apply this in a grocery store, but I think what I learned from my
Well, I
preceptor. Oh, you were, of course. Well, you had a much better
We had
education than
we had grocery store
I. Grocery
scenarios that
store
we did.
simulation lab where you walk through it. But we apply that, I think, as nurses. I think nurses are the best profession. It is the best profession on the planet, hands down, because so much is applicable on all levels of how do you compassionately care for another human being.
Hmm.
And you just named it and you live it.
Yay! See, that's a
Yeah.
much better cap. Thank you.
Hey, no, we're
You
just
capped it up.
talking. Well, let's continue the cap. Aubby, I'm gonna thank you
Or
first and
capping it off.
foremost.
The kids still call capping something else. The kids call a cap a lie now. So what we meant, like
Oh.
a summary, a conclusion, an end, or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're gonna cap in the old school sense of the word.
Oh.
I know I gotta have to go take a nap. I don't know about you. Aubby, thank you so much. Aubby, thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts. We do get political sometimes on this conversation, and I'm curious, especially as folks age and move on to another decade, how those points of view may change over time. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Niners podcast. My name is Tim Cunningham. I'm your host, and I want to give a special thanks to Jen Cornell for giving us our intro and outro music. Join us for our next episode. I interview Emily. Emily is 39, about to turn 40, and she shares some really fantastic perspectives on life, the end of life, and how we deal with aging in this world that we live in. Tune in next time, and thanks for joining.